Before we begin this film, we'd like to mention that our content contains graphic pictures, so viewer discretion is advised. This story takes place during the Civil War, where Union troops in Illinois are fighting against the Confederates in Tennessee. Not much is said about our lieutenant, other than that he is fighting for the Union. Let's begin. During the morning, it was bright and early. The lieutenant was dividing up and rationing out the coffee beans. He was doing this to evenly distribute the coffee amongst each soldier and to preserve their supplies. He was serious in his work. He was on the verge of great triumph upon his mathematics. Soon after, he let out a scream. He realized he was shot in his right hand, and the soldiers looked at him and froze in shock. The lieutenant gazed in the woods where he was shot and saw more white powder coming from the woods. He held his sword by the blade in his left hand and struggles to put it back into its sheath. A sergeant comes and helps him out and puts his sword in his sheath, but then backs away. One of the soldiers comes to try to help the lieutenant and offer assistance, but the lieutenant just turns him away. The lieutenant stands, begins to walk away from the war to the hospital. As the lieutenant walks back, he begins to see the war more clearly. He sees men fighting savagely, trying to hold their ground against the enemy. A machine is moved as he held his arm and stood still, watching as it passed by him. After it was out of sight, he continued and looked toward the battle scene, where many were yelling and cheering, and others were blazed away. On the way to the hospital, he met some stragglers who told the lieutenant where the hospital is and talks about the performance of the army. They really did not care about his wound. In the barrack, several officers came out to see him and started asking several questions. One of them noticed his wound, but without any right treatment or sympathy. He tied his wound with a handkerchief, and he even scolded him. Then, the lieutenant reached the hospital. He found that the hospital was mismanaged. The ambulances were stuck up in the mud, and no one cared about the wounded soldiers. He met a busy surgeon who behaved in an indifferent manner. He talked to the lieutenant as if he was talking to a criminal, not to a brave, just soldier. Though the surgeon told him that he would not amputate his hand, but the lieutenant found himself losing his arm. When he went to his home, the family members started crying because they did not realize his bravery. Though he was a war hero, he felt himself ashamed. Now, let's analyze this. We see a lieutenant fighting in the Civil War to free and give freedom. But after he's wounded and walks back, he sees the war more clearly. He sees all his men fighting so savagely, and he sees many injured and not given the best treatment. The surgeon treated him as if he were talking to a criminal, to a lieutenant who's fought in many wars. And many soldiers weren't being taken care of correctly at the time. This beautiful work is to help people realize that soldiers don't always earn the respect that they need. That even though they serve their country and they're injured and come back, they aren't given the proper care and are treated lower than what they should be. Not to mention the advances in medicine and technology. Back then, a gunshot wound to any part of your body meant infection, which they couldn't really take care of. So their solution was amputation. Versus now, we're able to attempt surgery and pull it out and prescribe antibiotics or stitch it up. But thank you for watching our documentary. We hope you enjoyed.